Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुब्रमण्य सुदर्शन जी की नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यम जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. So today we are going to so theme is that that's what like now I got the theme of this subject. So the bestower of the knowledge. The Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the bestower of the knowledge. So this we are taking verse 29 from 5th chapter, which deals as karma yoga. And anyway, so this particular verse says that this was a very famous verse, and near about more than 300 times it's quoted from Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse more than. So this verse is Bhoktaram Yajñatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam Jnatva Shantim Rachate. So how we understand this? A direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So translation says that a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of the material miseries. So, if you go into more discussion, here, who is real enjoyer? He's saying the Bhoktaram, the enjoyer, the beneficiary. And of all sacrifices and austerities, he's saying that Yajna Tapasham, of all sacrifices and austerities, and Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Lord of all planets and demigods. And Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam is saying that well-wishers of all living beings. Who is here well-wisher of all living beings? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Jnatva, knowing this, Mam, that is I am Krishna, me, Krishna is saying. Shantim Rachati, is he attains peace. So here we can see that who is the Supreme Enjoyer and who is the Supreme Proprietor and who is the Supreme Friend. This understanding these three facts brings peace, not only emotional, but spiritual realization. How this reveals Krishna as the bestower of knowledge. Okay, knowing is saying Jnatva Mam, knowing me. Krishna is saying that by knowing me, okay, Krishna emphasizes knowledge of him as the key to peace. He himself is the object of knowledge as attained in other Gita verses, like you see that Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabha. 7th chapter 19th verse, he says that Krishna is everything. He himself is the object of knowledge, as stated, like we just discussed. Only Krishna can give this transcendental knowledge because he is the ultimate truth. Who is he? Ultimate truth. How we can say that he is ultimate truth? Because he is saying that. One who's like, he says that Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapatyante Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabha. He says that after many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all it that is such a great soul is a very rare. So unless the gross materialist develops a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the share of both the transcendental and material worlds, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. So, the Supreme Lord is the seer of all worlds, both material and transcendental. In other words, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate beneficiary and enjoyer of all worlds, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā. We are discussing, right? 5.29. The spiritual world is the manifestation of his internal potency, and the material world is the manifestation of his external potency. The living entities are also his marginal potency, and by their own choice, they can live in their, either the transcendental or material worlds. The material world is not fit place for living entities because they are spiritually one with the Lord. And in the material world, the living entities become conditioned by the laws of the material world. The Lord wants all living entities who are his parts and parcels to live with him in the transcendental world and for enlightening conditioned souls. So that's what even Prabhupada has clearly mentioned that in a purport also. That Krishna says he says that thus I created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Supreme Lord. Like the enjoyer of the sacrifice and the performance of the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord. People in general always anxious to have peace of mind or peace in the world, but they do not know how to achieve such a standard of peace in this world. Such peace in the world is obtainable by performances of sacrifice and by practice of austerity. In this Kali Yuga, the best sacrifice is chanting Hare Krishna. By chanting Hare Krishna, one slowly develops the peace. So we see, corporate world, often they say that, oh, there is no peace, and how to, overcome anxiety. They say that we are in depression, and they say that there is no peace, either in home or at office. How do we get peace in the office? That we are supposed to work there because we are paying by our employee. So our employee is paying for us, is making us to work for his own benefit. So we think that by getting salary, some 5-digit or 6-digit, we will be peaceful because we get money, we use for our benefit. But we are missing, in spite of looking for peace in a right direction, we are going to spend our time and our energy in a wrong direction because we think that by earning money, we get a peace. But we don't get, because we are missing real knowledge. Where we get knowledge, so we don't know. We don't have that knowledge. Knowledge we don't have, and we don't have idea that where we get the peace or where we get the real knowledge. We think that we are the enjoyer, obviously, because of we don't have knowledge. And we think that we are the enjoyer. Bhaktaram yadnisapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. He's saying that Suhridam sarva bhutanam jnatva mam shantim rachati. But we don't understand this because we don't know what is that meaning. Then that's why we need a spiritual guide who is connected in the parampara line, who can enlighten us, giving the the real knowledge, the truth of Krishna. That's what he says, like, and who knows the truth? The three, like, who knows the Brahman, who knows the Paramatman, who knows the Bhagavan? He is the real transcendental person who knows these three aspects of the Bhagavan, like a supreme absolute truth. He is the real knowledgeable person, then who can give us knowledge and who can deliver us from these pangs of material world. So that person, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, then definitely we will achieve the supreme goal, the supreme transcendental nature. That's why, like, karma yogis know that the Supreme Lord is the factual enjoyer and maintainer of all sacrifices. And of the afterlife, they also know that the Lord is the ultimate proprietor of all the planets and is the factual friend of all living entities. Such knowledge gradually converts the karma yogis into pure devotees of the Lord through the association of unallied devotees. And thus they are able to be liberated from material bondage. We see that the Brahma living, the original living being within this material world, taught us the way of sacrifice. The word sacrifice suggests dedication of one's own interest for satisfaction of a second person. That's what we say, like we see in our family, father sacrifices everything for wife, children. By their satisfaction, he live and he lead his life. He sees kid is going to school. He sees that, oh, my kid is having torn clothes. He provides a good clothes. And he sees that kid is going to school without socks and shoes by wearing chappal. The standard is that in present schools must have shoes, socks, and belt, tie. So if you don't have these things, you are not allowed to enter into school. If, like those days, teachers used to punish us. Nowadays, there is no punishment and they don't know. They make it as a like business, everything. Okay, one aspect it is good to maintain good standards, but in order to maintain standards, they started like making as a rule to steal money. So then there is no peace actually, because there is a difference. Maintaining standard is different. In order to maintain standard, so behind that there is a one more standard, internal standard, that how to steal money by implementing rules. Okay, the rules they want to fulfill their pocket. We are not criticizing anyone. How Kali Yuga has been degraded by every day, every single second. We don't have that knowledge. What we are doing, how we can overcome this material, like, impediments, because we are deeply rooted in this material nature, to experiencing the material nature of enjoyment. In the matter of enjoyment, we are thinking that this is the peace. So every man is engaged in sacrificing in his interest for others, either in the form of family, society, community, country, or the entire human society. But perfection of such sacrifices is attained when they are performed for the sake of the Supreme Person, the Lord. Okay, because the Lord is the proprietor of everything, because the Lord is the friend of all living entities, and because he is the maintainer of the performer of sacrifice, as well as the supplier of the ingredients of sacrifices. It is he only and no one else who should be satisfied by all sacrifices. Excuse me. The whole world is engaged in sacrificing energy for advancement of learning, social upliftment, economic development, and plans for the total improvement of human condition. But no one is interested in sacrificing for the sake of the Lord. As it is advised in the Bhagavad-gītā, therefore there is no peace in the world. If the men at all want peace in the world, they must practice sacrifice in the interest of the supreme proprietor and friend of all. And what are the truths regarding the living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead? Okay, what are their identities? And what are the specific values in knowledge in the Vedas? And what are the necessities for the spiritual master and his disciples? So the living entities are constitutionally servitors of the Lord, who can accept all kinds of service from everyone. It is clearly declared. Who can? He's saying that Bhaktaram Yatnya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. That the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of the benefits of all sacrifices and penances, the proprietor of all that is manifested, and the friend of all living entities. That is his real identity. Therefore, when the living entity accepts this supreme proprietorship of the Lord and acts in that attitude, he resumes his real identity in order to elevate the living entity to the standard of knowledge. There is the necessity of spiritual association. The bona fide spiritual master desires that his disciples know the process of rendering transcendental service to the Lord. That's why how we can serve this service to the Lord. Lord has given such a wonderful opportunity in this age of Kali, in the Archa Vigraha form. In the Archa Vigraha form, so, okay, I'm from South India. So actually in South India, not only in South India, everywhere in the temples, we are not allowed to worship Lord directly, going into altar. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he has given two opportunities and two options. Okay, either. That one opportunity is that he established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that is the temples where we have deities and our own devotees, trained devotees who worships the Lord like that, who has interest to worship the Lord, and they also get trained and they worship in the temple. At the same time, if one really has interest in Krishna consciousness and devotional services, then that person, he can establish altar, a small altar and deities in his own house. He can worship every day. So Lord is such a wonderful personality. He has given us opportunity through his pure devotees. So if until unless if you don't have desire, you cannot worship. Even that desire is given by our acharyas. So they are inviting us. They are encouraging us to be a part of the community of Krishna consciousness practicing where they practice devotional services. So in that aspect, this knowledge, even that knowledge we don't know till ISKCON is being known. So this knowledge, because of Acharyas has given us, especially our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, established such a way that in the name of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he started delivering the whole world who is not qualified at all, even to see Lord, what to talk about here about the Lord, everything. So by his mercy, we are experiencing. So that is real knowledge. When the living entity accepts the supreme proprietorship of the Lord and acts in that attitude, he resumes his real identity. In order to elevate the living entity to this standard of knowledge, there is a necessity of spiritual association. The bona fide spiritual masters desires that his disciple know the process of rendering transcendental service to the Lord. Okay. So, to disseminate transcendental knowledge, one must retire from mundane activities on the strength of enlightenment in knowledge in terms of Vedic wisdom. That is the sum and substance of all the questions, okay, whatever we have. So, we see in that Bhagavad Gita, so many places is mentioned that like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth, and he is the eternal, transcendental, original person. He is unborn, he is the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita Devala, and Vyasadeva confirms, excuse me, this truth about Krishna. And now, Krishna himself is declaring to Arjuna, where in 10th chapter, like, and even Brahma Samhita says, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all, and he has no other origin. He is the prime cause of all causes. And Srimad Bhagavatam says, first canto, first chapter, first verse. And this was spoken by, when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada was present in this, is Leela, he spoke about this verse 3 months, and in that, Brahma says, "Oh, my Lord Krishna, O son of Vasudeva, all pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances." That we says that, he says that, I meditate upon Lord Krishna. He says that, you are the absolute truth. I meditate upon you, upon him who is absolute truth and who is eternally exists in transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. And even Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them to do. It's a perfect word. We have to understand our nature is that, and we also actually should act like that in under our spiritual master guidance. Whatever, when we actually fully surrender to Krishna and having faith in a spiritual master we are serving, then actually we adapt this quality. Whatever they make us to do, we dance accordingly. Okay. And what is the value of throne, to Lord Krishna? The master of the various planetary systems accept the dust of his lotus feet on their crowned heads. Why? The dust makes the holy places sacred. And even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lakshmi, and who are all portions of his plenary portions, eternally carry the dust on their heads. So, why we are discussing all this? Because this is real knowledge. One should understand that. So, and how this actually reveals Krishna as the bestower of knowledge. So, knowing me, he says, Jnatvam. We already discussed. Krishna emphasizes knowledge of him as the key to peace. He himself is the object of knowledge, as stated in other, like Gita verses we discussed. And number two, knowledge beyond rituals. Many pursue peace through yajnas, like sacrifice, tapasa, austerity, or demigod worship. Krishna corrects this misconception. He is the ultimate goal of all these processes. And this is higher knowledge, moving from karma kanda to jnana. And Krishna as Suhridam, the inner guide. And Krishna is the supreme Paramatma. He is the eternal well-wisher. And Krishna is the super soul, he is the Paramatma. And he is present in everyone's heart. Dadami Buddhi Yogantam. Again, we see how it's like 10.10. We see. I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. This shows Krishna is not only the goal of knowledge, but the guide and giver of knowledge. And how we in our really and real life, how we implicate this, like by accepting Krishna's supreme position, the mind is relieved from doubt and fear. This understanding awakens faith, humility, and devotion, which are the fertile ground for receiving divine knowledge. And peace, shanti, becomes the fruit of spiritual knowledge. Srila Prabhupada's perfect highlights this knowledge is the cause of peace. And when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer, one then becomes detached from material life and attains true peace. This is the way of spiritual realization. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that real peace and knowledge come from understanding Krishna's true position. What is that? So here, Prabhupada clearly mentions that the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all this survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. And unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. The Lord is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. That's what this whole fifth chapter says, that practical explanation of Krishna consciousness. Generally, and Prabhupada has given clearly also. He says that, and this verse explains that such a person situated in Samadhi, having accomplished a vision of his own Atma, and then worshipping Paramatma, becomes liberated. That Paramatma is the guardian of Yajna and Tapasa, Bhokthara. He is the great Lord, Maheshwaram, of all beings, even of Brahma and Shiva and Sarvaloka. For all the Shruti says, Kameshwaram Paramam Maheshwaram. That's what says that. So he is being worshipped by demigods like Lord Brahma and Shiva. So they are accepting. What is our problem to accept him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because we don't accept, we don't have knowledge. In Kali Yuga, modern age, people think that they themselves as a God. They are climbing, people are. And they act like that. They are God, they are everything. We can see in daily, day-to-day life, how people are, they're being worshipped because of they don't have knowledge. How this knowledge comes? Only by surrendering it to a bona fide spiritual master and the representative of Krishna. So, and Shruti, that's what Shruti says. And he is the unprejudiced assister of all beings. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. And knowing, he says that knowing me as such, realizing me as the object of worship with those qualities, the person attains the cessation of samsaram, shantim, he says, shantim, satisfying the Lord of all beings and the benefactor of all beings, indeed brings about happiness. By Niskama Karma Yoga, the most prominent yoga, which has within it jnana, the sanista attains the liberation. This is the meaning of the 5th chapter. One should understand that. And a pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya illusion due to the desire to lord it over Maya. And that is cause of his many sufferings. As long as in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. When a person in Krishna consciousness, however it is, brings one into spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone, everything depending on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is clearly explained in even purport also. So he says that everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passions, remains factual in the transcendental stage or Brahma Nirvana. Generally, people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government or the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in our outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by him. Once engaged in the supreme government, service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from the engagement. The highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. And that will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving God, goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. So here it says that The whole world is engaged in sacrificing energy for advancement of learning, social upliftment, economic development, and plans for total improvement of the human condition. But no one is interested in sacrificing for the sake of the Lord. As it is advised in this verse, there is no peace in the world if men at all want peace in the world. They must practice sacrifice in the interest of the supreme proprietor and friend of all. And when the living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. And in the beginning of spiritual realization, one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, and there is some learning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in this spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. So, and our Upanishads also says that Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers breadth. And he is in the fact, thus, like no, this entire universe is all that was and all that will be, is the Lord of immortality, and of all that is nourished by body. So, in the body of living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, or power to think is the prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, the personality of God, Lord Krishna, is the prime entity in living in everything. In this body, there are power to speak or power to seeking or hearing, mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Supreme Lord. Because Vasudeva is all pervading and everything is Vasudeva. The devotee surrenders in full knowledge. He says that was is like no Tesham jnani nityayukta eka bhaktir visheshyate priyo jnanito trayam aham sachamam priya. That's what he says, the previous verse says that of this, like the seventh chapter is like the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me, he says that. So, and a summary is that Krishna is the source and giver of true knowledge. Understanding his roles as enjoyer, proprietor, and friend brings peace and clarity. This verse urges us to go beyond superficial knowledge and understand Krishna's transcendental position and how it reflects on all devotees. Am I seeking Krishna as my supreme well-wisher? And do I approach him as the giver of wisdom or just as a remover of problems? Let this verse transform our consciousness and from seeker of peace and to recipient of divine knowledge from Krishna himself. The conclusion is that we have to understand that the greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities, men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, like, Prabhupada also mentioned in the purports that he says that Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. He says that under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Okay. And this is what I like, feel to share something about this verse. Okay. Thanks for bearing me for this last 45 minutes. I'll just seek your blessings and any comments. Okay. Please correct me if I have spoken wrongly. Okay, I seek your all blessings. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antakoti Vaishnavrinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Any comments, any suggestions for my better devotional service?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the class.